I kind of took a dip. And part of that dip was feeling like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to come out of this? My name is Tokunboh Ishmael. I'm of the STAND class, which is the first class of the Finance Leaders Fellowship. I'm currently in London, although my business is in Nigeria, and I work out of Lagos, run a fund management firm there. I started out with a feeling of like, well, yes, we're all working remotely, but we need to still get up and put on our work cells. So I would wake up in the morning, I would have a shower, I'd do my makeup. And then I found myself maybe about 6 months into it, not wanting to get showered in the morning, not wanting to do all the things that I had been prophesying. So I kind of took a dip. And part of that dip was feeling like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to come out of this? And I would say that arc really carried over into the frenzy with which activity went on. Because, at the time we were sort of 3 months into closing our private equity fund. My firm, Alitheia Capital, is partnered with another fund management firm based out of South Africa called AGLN Capital, and we jointly manage a fund called Alitheia IDF, which is a gender smart fund, and so proactively looks to deploy more capital to female entrepreneurs, deploy more capital into businesses that have an impact on women, deploy more capital to ensure that there's diversity in ownership at the board. So we had this huge pipeline that we'd worked on prior to the close in 2019. Of course, COVID put the brakes on that. But also what COVID did, which was quite interesting, was it really spotlighted that the fund was very much on time and out at the right time. The fact that our areas of focus, which we had chosen as areas where you have more women in the value chain, were essential services, which included health, education, energy. And with COVID, the gap in health services was just sort of thrown open. It just meant that we saw even more pipeline, which was even more overwhelming for us. And it did really follow that arc that I spoke about, where we were like, oh goodness, how are we going to deal with doing all of this remotely? And then, of course, we can do this. And we found ourselves deploying more capital, really looking at, what aspects of the health sector do we feel that we need to plug a gap financially and resource-wise. There's been a lot of energy that has gone into thinking about the inclusivity of women in all aspects of economies. We've been very proactive about thinking about how we get more money into the hands of female founders, how we get diversity into the board, talking about the inclusivity of women as a key factor in economies to raise the economic prosperity of those economies and for everybody, to enable everyone in those economies to reach their full potential. Why should we make a business case as to why women should be participating? Perhaps if we feel we have to do that, we should make a business case as to why men should continue to be at the forefront of leadership or be even given a place at the table that they've dominated. So it's a moral obligation, it's an economic obligation, and it's just good sense. The pandemic has caused me, and I'm sure many others, to reevaluate their priorities and definitely placed family and relationships at the center of what needs to be priority. Being deliberate about taking the weekend, spending time with family, some rituals, games, dinners and movies, and hoping to keep that going into the post-pandemic period. We really need to not forget the new ways of doing things that lift the boats for everybody, taking advantage of the time that we've had to pause, rethink, and reset.